Welcome to the Fine Print Podcast, where we explore the journeys and insights of young entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Zubair, alongside my co host, Sani. Today, we're discussing a topic that's crucial for every entrepreneur: networking. In this episode, we will share our experiences from previous entrepreneurial pursuits and discuss how these lessons are shaping our current project, Relate Network, which is still in development. We'll dive into why networking is so vital, sharing stories of how connecting with the right people has opened doors, provided invaluable insights, and helped us grow both personally and professionally. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand your network, this episode is packed with insights to help you on your journey. Let's get into it.
And we're back, episode 2.
Yes, but before we get into it, there's a bit of housekeeping we need to clear up from the last
Feedback.
episode. Yes, so I think one of the highest feedbacks was that Sani didn't give the whole picture on what it is you do, and
Gotcha.
I think you started discussing it and didn't finish it. So if you can take the next 3 to 5 minutes to catch us up, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, sorry to everyone. I often segue, but what I do is I currently run a car subscription company here in Atlanta. And what we do, we're basically Netflix, but for your car. You get a plan and you get access to different cars under that plan, with the vision being completely borderless and seamless. So anywhere you go, one subscription. That's our tagline. One subscription, any car, anywhere. And alongside that, I'm also starting up a fintech called Relate Network, to which I have the pleasure of working with Zubair here. And together we're trying to
Take over, brother.
overcome the hassles of launching a startup in Nigeria. And that also brings us to this topic, as Zubair mentioned, networking, which is very, very crucial in Nigeria, especially. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think what I found very interesting is the definition of networking and what it means to, because I realized that networking meant different. I defined it as a different thing than you did. So let's start with your definition of what networking is.
My definition of networking is somewhat um, Middle Eastern, let's say, because I never really needed networking or never saw the value of networking until I moved into the UAE and started to live there. And what they call, I guess, their network or connection, they call it wasta. That's the Arabic word. And we've just come to associate that wasta with, a guy, or you gotta connect somewhere, that can help you with something. And I think that's my primary definition right now is, you need a permit for something. Do you know a guy? You need an approval somewhere. You know somebody. That's my primary definition of network. Of course, we have the LinkedIn definition of networking as well, uh, to which you just kind of you grow your network or whatever. I don't know. What do you think about that, Zubair? What is your
I think
definition of?
I would have to agree with your Middle Eastern definition of it that's that's the Nigerian way.
Hmm.
If you don't know a guy, you are destined to suffer.
Yeah.
So I think networking is ingrained in our DNAs, and we do it without knowing we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a skill that you'd say a lot of the population would consider themselves natural at it. And so that's the kind of that's networking to survive. And
Mm-hmm.
then I never put stock into networking in the LinkedIn or the business sense as separate. So I always ended up just not putting stock into it, mainly because things just kind of happen because you're not thinking about it. It's just maybe you come back home and somebody is, your dad has a guest, and then you greet the person and you start talking about your latest venture.
Mm-hmm.
So I never saw it as deliberate. So I only just recently identified networking as a separate entity and something deliberate rather than something that you just stumble into.
Yeah, I think some people are fortunate enough to be born into a great network,
Fair
and
enough.
yeah, so in that case, you can definitely stumble across great assets in your own parlor, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But some people just trying to get out the hood, they need to network from scratch. And I guess that's what we'll cover today on on this podcast is the different avenues and different ways you can expand your network and hopefully be the best entrepreneur you can be.
Well, I can definitely relate to that because I did uh, build a network from scratch
Mhm.
after moving to the UK and starting a business in the UK. So
Mhm.
there's a how what would you call cultural shock, but in business, because that was what it was.
Business
The
culture
rules
shock.
just but culture shock. I don't know. I would attribute, or when you say that, I would think of food, language, not business. But yeah, culture shock. Um, in terms of the lack of network, because in Nigeria, that's where my network is, and I had a guy for everything, and I immediately realized that I didn't have that here, and I needed to build from scratch.
And how did that make you feel when you're starting a business? Did you feel sort of a little powerless at the time?
Yes, yes. So a lot of the mistakes I made could have been avoided if I'd just known what was it. You know, the knowledge that everybody knows, but it's not written.
Mm.
That was it. That was it for me. Just little things. How to get a bank account, and my strong suit was word to mouth marketing and referrals.
Hmm.
But then that is for that to work, you need some kind of structure, which I didn't have here. So the most overwhelming thing for me was starting.
Hmm.
How do I start? How do you get that first lead?
Hmm.
You know? So that was the that was the first question that kind of um, started. And then so I didn't think of it as an option starting out because I don't know, maybe I didn't pay attention, but in Nigeria I didn't see a lot of it. But here you find that in every city you have entrepreneurial network, business owners, small business owners having programs, having lunches or dinners that you can sign up to and meet people.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have easily just gone there as my first channel, but it wasn't. I don't know. I was just overwhelmed, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm talking in hindsight. But at the time, it didn't feel like an option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not something we're really brought up to do. So you moved to the UK for university, right?
Yes,
Okay.
at some point.
So I guess we can say point number one for networking would be tap into your friends and family. Your friends and family is the easiest circle that you can reach out to and explore. And point number two will be your university. A lot of people, when you attend university, you don't take advantage of the networks, but your professors and faculty are, highly established, people, and they have a vast network as well. So you need to take advantage of those networks. And as Zubair also mentioned, events are very, very crucial. This is something that I learned only maybe 2 months ago. Did I actually start attending events? And I realized how important these events are, especially events that involve food, because people love to bond over a good meal. You attend an event where there's food and drink, and you sit next to, somebody like-minded. You're bound to strike up a conversation, and you know it can go from there. So, Zubair, what what changed? What made you realize that you needed to up your networking game? And how great is your networking game right now?
Okay, so in terms of forming a connection, I find that part easy, right?
Okay.
But it's it's actively putting myself in the situation to form the connection that I avoid. So I
Mhm.
avoid going for parties. I dread going for dinners
Mhm.
because it's just a daunting thought. But once I am
Mhm.
in that situation, I flourish. So I just the most difficult part for me is finding myself in that kind of setting. But once I'm there, and I think this is a nice segue into the most important part of building a network or relationship is the value of forming genuine connections.
Mhm.
So things like first impressions. So once I find myself in that kind of situation, I know how to approach people politely and strike off a conversation. Be it in depending on the kind of place, what you need is an icebreaker to just
Mhm.
start a dialogue, and then from there it's a combination of emotional intelligence and being able to and the confidence to actually carry on the conversation.
Let's see. So, how do you find these events to go to, particularly in the UK?
Okay, so there's there is young professionals organizations. There's Black in Business organizations. All you need to do is to search events
Mhm.
um, around your um, around your city. So you find a lot of them on ticketing websites that advertise events, and you can buy tickets off of. It's that should be your first stop. And Facebook is an excellent resource if to make connections and be a part of a network, especially in the UK. So the utilization of Facebook, I find it's Instagram is a better vehicle in Nigeria, while
Okay.
here I feel you can't escape Facebook
Facebook.
because all the important information seems to go out there. Actually, here Facebook groups are more efficient than WhatsApp groups
Mm. Yeah, I
in
don't know
terms of
why in the
getting
UK
information out.
they just love their Facebook groups.
Yeah,
So
so
I
Facebook
know you
definitely.
mentioned Instagram as a great vehicle for Nigeria. So let's touch a little bit on Nigeria as well. Um, so are there actually groups for that in Nigeria? For example, on Facebook or LinkedIn, have you come across anything, or Instagram posts? How do Nigerians network in Nigeria through social media?
So I have I'm not big on social media. I'm not active on social media, so I feel I'm the wrong person to advise on that because I have just what in the past one was it 3 4 months that I have made the conscious choice to be more active on social media to promote our businesses and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I wouldn't know. And when I think of networking in Nigeria, I was I still am a very heavy word to mouth and leveraging on the existing network, which actually this episode has got me thinking on. I can't even give you a blueprint of how I built that network. I just know that it's there, and I am at most 3 calls away from solving any problem I might have.
Right. So I guess since I'm a little bit more active on social media than you, I'll just touch up a little bit on this. So my favorite go-to website is eventbrite.com. I believe it's it's .com. So eventbrite.com, we'll leave the description we'll leave the link in the description. Is a great place for you to search up different events, and they do have them listed for Nigeria as well. You can go over there and you can get tickets, which are usually free, because a lot of these events they're freemium. They would like to like sell you something in there, whether it's food or drink. You just need to attend first, and a lot of them do have networking events. So for example, here in Atlanta, you have black-owned businesses, minority businesses events, women in business events, tech events, and stuff like that. In Nigeria, you have the same thing: fintechs and other sorts of startup events and whatnot. So attending those events is really really crucial. And a lot of people usually think that I need a vast network of people, but really you only need um, a small quality network. Because I don't know, Zubair, have you heard of that Facebook thing where they sort of analyzed the distance between each human, or how many people stand in between you and anyone in the world, and the longest chain of people between you and anyone is 6 or 7 people. So you need 6 or 7 people maximum to get to anybody. So literally, you want to
Yeah.
talk to Putin, you you just need 6 people, 6 correct people maximum to get to him. So once you have a quality network, um, or quality set of individuals, you can pretty much access anyone. And right now, LinkedIn is a really, really good spot. There's over 950 million people, I believe, on LinkedIn, but only about, I want to say, only about 10 million are actively creating content and actively posting and things like that. So LinkedIn is very, very unsaturated compared to Instagram and Facebook, where a small event would post their flyer or leaflet or whatever it is, and it just gets watered down by cat pictures and memes, But on LinkedIn, everyone's a bit more professional. So definitely actively engage on LinkedIn. I myself always used to kind of shy away from LinkedIn, but I've recently started engaging on LinkedIn a lot, and it's helped me to grow my network in a short amount of time, especially if you actively engage with like-minded people on LinkedIn.
So what do you think it's so in the atmosphere that we're in now, what should I give more energy to? Online
Which
networking or in person?
so it's a little bit of pros and cons, I think. Online is much easier, especially for people like me that avoid interaction at all costs. I know I'm doing a podcast and everything, but I'm I'm trying to overcome my discomforts. So engaging online is way easier for me, but engaging in person is more meaningful in terms of connection establishment. When you meet somebody in person and you rub shoulders with them, you have food and drink with them at these events, they remember you more and they're more willing to, especially when they place your face to the name, they're more willing to, you know, explore different avenues with you or help you or whatever it is, as opposed to when they see you online. That's why my go-to method is always to try and meet them in person, then follow them online, or follow them online and then try to meet them in person. So if it's somebody higher up that I want to meet in person, I would maybe follow them on LinkedIn first, stalk them around, see what events they're going to attend, and then show up there. Right. Once I show up there and I talk with them, then you bring up that, oh, I actually follow you on LinkedIn, or I connected with you on LinkedIn, but you never connected with me back. Rule eyes.
Mhm.
And and then it goes from there. So they both have their pros and cons. Of course, attending these events can be expensive, time consuming, but hey, that's your job as an entrepreneur. You got to make things happen.
Yeah, and I'm definitely more of an in-person kind of person, and I was, yeah, person, but
Yeah.
um the most tedious part of what you just said for me is the following up with following on social media. That will get difficult for me. So I
Mhm.
think I need to find that balance. Start it in person and be able to follow through with the with the social media. Well, that's the best way to stay in touch these days. So
Mhm. Gotcha.
uh, yeah,
So,
definitely.
do you have any? What was the best network connection you've made recently that has kind of helped you overcome a certain, let's say, plateau in one of your businesses? Let's highlight the power of networking here.
Yes. So for me, it's actually you as my network getting
Oh,
to
I'm flattered.
uh, getting to hear somebody in your network, because I don't know the person, talk about pitch decks.
Hmm.
And remember, I we were reflecting on the conversation, and I told you that all the things I thought were important, all the things I would spend so much time on trying to perfect in a pitch deck are just cosmetic.
Hmm.
And I was just putting so much energy into the wrong thing.
Yeah, I
So
recall you found a lot of value in that.
yeah, yeah. So my most recent one, especially because I did have actually last two pitches. The last one that we were on together. I
Hmm.
think that advice we could have used it in on that call. So definitely the the mentorship aspect of, because I feel networking has a lot of branches,
Hmm.
because when you are talking about funding, it goes back to network. When you're talking about mentorship, it goes back to
Network.
and by the way, these are future topics that I'm dropping sound bites for, but everything seems to lead back to a good network.
Yeah, and for those who are not familiar, what we're saying, uh, the mentor that Zubair is referring to is someone I met on LinkedIn that reposted our company as a rising startup in Atlanta. So I reached out to them on LinkedIn and wanted to see if they were available to have a chat and pick their brain about certain things, and they did. And Zubair was a great fly on the wall, and he ended up providing us with an insane amount of golden nuggets, especially because he's a marketing expert and he spent about 10 years in Techstars. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with Techstars or Y Combinator or things like that. So he's a mentor for them, and so he provided a lot of golden nuggets for pitch decks. I think one of my best network or networks I've made recently for business is through YouTube, actually. And there was a YouTuber guy who kind of also does car rental stuff, and he doesn't have that many subscribers, but nonetheless, me and my co-founder decided to reach out to him and try and network with him. And this man, well, his name is Alex. Alex had so many great pieces of information. And I know I'm going to sound like one of those internet gurus that goes like, "Oh, we tripled our whatever overnight." But the kinds of advice that Alex gave us, immediately we implemented them that very month. We doubled in revenue instantly. So, I think that was the one of the best um, connections I've made in the past maybe 3 months. So he really, really opened up our eyes into different ways we can market our brand, how to get drivers, how to secure partnerships for car maintenance and things like that. So we really took his advice and ran with it, and uh, it was the best 1 hour we ever spent networking with somebody. So don't underestimate anyone, whether it's on YouTube, LinkedIn. Just reach out to them, pick their brain, talk with them. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is, I guess, you just have a chat. You
Yeah,
just have an empty
and
chat.
I think the closing, um, for me on this is, and the lesson that I have learned and what I'm going to implement on networking moving forward is to be deliberate about networking, because it's a part of our lives. We do it every day. But
Mhm.
now I'm going to be more deliberate in identifying people that I can learn from.
I think that's a
And
great one.
yeah, people I can learn from, or potential mentors. Uh, Take Alex, for example. Just
Mhm.
you took your shot and just reached out, and it turned out to be very valuable. So I'm going to be deliberate about all my encounters to be able to identify who can be useful to me in terms of putting in the energy to stay in touch and to nurture that relationship. That's definitely what I've my biggest takeaway from this.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic takeaway. Definitely don't just waste your energy networking with a bunch of random people. I mean, that's good. That's good as well. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have, for example, Hubly as a cleaning and chore service providing business, you need to network with people in that industry.
History.
They
Yeah.
will be able to give you the best immediate advice that you need uh, to overcome any kind of hurdles you have.
Okay. Uh, I think we have gotten to the book review section.
Let's go. What is today's book
Today's
review?
book Today's book is The Courage to Be Disliked.
Ah,
A single book can change your life. So, your thoughts first?
no, honestly, um, the book was a shocker. I loved the way that it read. I know that's weird, but to start with, the book is sort of an interaction between a youth and a wise philosopher, and I
Yeah,
think the way that book was written, it guided you to the solutions. And my biggest takeaways from the book were that you have tasks in life, and you shouldn't go beyond your task. And
mm,
you that kind of also is why the book is called The Courage to Be Disliked, I guess. And
yeah,
I'm now starting to realize why the book is written in the way I just mentioned, because the author is just creating that environment for you. That's his task. And then you are kind of arriving to the solution or to the answers.
yeah. He's giving you all the information, and you kind of you. The conclusion is yours to make. I've uh,
Yeah.
I've written a small summary of the book. The Courage to Be Disliked is a profound, transformative book that explores the teaching of Alfred Adler, a pioneer, a pioneer of individual psychology. First time I heard about individual psychology, and I don't know if I just heard it without the context of the book, I would have thought it's just an excuse to be selfish. But no, after reading the book, so the book was written by a Japanese author, Ishiro Kishimi, and Fumitake Koga. As Sani said, the book presents a dialogue between a philosopher and a young man. Um, a philosopher and a young man dissecting Adler's concepts that specifically the concepts that challenge the conventional wisdom about what happiness and success means. So to be honest, everything, well, some of the things were clear, right? And some of the things you just didn't want to admit to yourself. So the most powerful one is to do with the tasks. And all he's saying is you need to accept that some things are beyond your control and leave them as such. There's nothing you can do about it. So why stress? Um, and the book is thought provoking, and the discussions are excellent, and the teachings, you have self acceptance, you have living authentically, and the biggest one, finding the courage to be disliked. Because at the end of the day, what the book is saying is if you don't have the courage to be disliked, you cannot be happy. Because if you want everybody else to like you, be going out of your way to do things you don't like, things you don't want to do, just for people to like you. Therefore, you will never be happy. And what about the lessons in the book?
How about we integrate the lessons into kind of our topic? Because I'm starting to see now that the book has a lot of great lessons for business or entrepreneurs.
Mm.
What did you take away from the book that you kind of, I guess maybe till now didn't realize, but you started to implement in your entrepreneurial life?
So, okay, let me take courage to be disliked. I know I keep going back to it, but seeking approval from other people limits our true potential.
Hmm.
Being true to yourself may sometimes lead to being disliked, but it is necessary to step forward, to step towards being your genuine self, to express happiness as well as success, because you are floating your idea by people, call it your network, and nobody seems to believe in the idea, but you truly believe that it is a winning idea.
Hmm.
Is the courage to tell those people, nah, you don't know what you're saying, and still going after it.
Yeah,
And
that's a
the very
powerful one.
yeah, and the second one is has to do with living in the present. So you have to be present. Past traumas, people tend to live in the past, and that significantly
Yeah,
when you get stuck there. Yeah,
people
go on.
also kind of get stuck living in the future sometimes too. And I think
How's that?
I'm definitely guilty of that. So I think the biggest takeaways for me as well in terms of business would be the tasks. Um, I've become more and more comfortable, or I've been trying to practice more and more keeping my tasks what they're supposed to be and leaving other people's tasks for them. And I've definitely started to feel myself be more happier because now I know, and of course employing that courage to be disliked, point that you mentioned, I outline my tasks for everyone I'm working with, and I outline their tasks, and I say this is my task and this is your task. So do your task and I'll do my task, and together we will hit our goals, as opposed to
Yeah,
before where I would kind of jump in, and if somebody's lacking somewhere would do their task as well, and that always left
yeah,
me with overwhelming amount of work and also kind of not liking what I do. But now I do my own tasks, and these are things that I enjoy doing because I'm good at doing them. And then I leave the tasks for everyone else uh, that they're supposed to do, of course.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
living
I
in
like that.
the future, sorry to just interject, but living in the future as well is a problem. And I'm trying to live in the present, as Zubair mentioned. That's the best way to live. Just live every day as it as if it was your last day. I mean, maybe that's why they call it the present, because it's a gift, right? So
Yeah.
just live it every day, and don't don't get stuck on either the past or the future, because I'm always living one step ahead. Okay, what's the next goal, and what happens when I reach that goal? And then suddenly I miss everything that's happening right here, right
Right
now,
now.
with friends and family. And these are moments you'll never get back. So that's the
Yeah.
curse
I
of
think.
the entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I have the last lesson on my side, and it just reminded me my biggest tool in networking. So I try to add value everywhere I go. That is that is the easiest way for me to create a genuine connection with
Mhm.
anybody or even a group of people, is to provide value. And I'm happy to always do that. I'm not stingy with the knowledge. I want to help.
Mhm.
And I have here Adler highlighting highlighting the importance of interpersonal relationships and community feeling. Building
Mhm.
meaningful relationships and contributing to well-being of others is crucial for personal fulfillment. So Adler stipulates that we are at our most happiest when we are providing value to somebody else or to the wider community. And if everybody would take that on board and kind of pay the kindness forward, we'll
Mhm.
all be better off for it, as well as having a kick-ass network.
I think definitely. I just recently read um, a book by Richard Branson, which we're going to cover hopefully in one of these episodes. And I just realized that he definitely uses the same philosophy there, because he just aims at just providing the best service that he can provide to everyone. And the result of that is just success and
Yeah,
happiness.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I think we're getting close to the mark. So last thing, who would you recommend this book for?
I would definitely recommend this book to entrepreneurs first and foremost, and individuals as well, even if you're not an entrepreneur. I think everyone needs to read this. You may discover that you are actually living an unhappy life, more unhappy than you imagined.
Yeah,
And it's really a brain jolt, let's just say. So I definitely recommend it, for business people first, and then individuals as well, mainly because we're business people.
so yeah, I would just to add to that, I would recommend it to two sets of people. I would strongly recommend it uh, for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to cultivate a mindset of resilience and authenticity. I also want to recommend it to anyone struggling with self doubt, fear of rejection, or social or societal pressure.
Mm.
I think these two groups of people would benefit greatly from the book.
Yeah, guys, forget what I said. Just Zubair's recommendation sounds sounds better. It sounds more prepared. Yeah,
Yeah, so this brings us to the end of
the
the
fireside chat.
second episode of the Fine Print Podcast.
Yes, sir. So, are we doing the fireside chat or?
I think we just had a fireside chat.
But where's the laid backness? Where's the fire?
Yeah, today I was standing.
So you
So I
can't
think
lay back
standing
while
won't
standing.
work. Yeah, standing won't work.
Just lean against your shelf.
Yep.